This is for the free thinkers, the curious beings that swim upstream, who see possibilities, not problems, that learn from the past, live by the present, and create the future. This is the I Love Ugly audio show.
Welcome to the I Love Ugly audio show. My name's Valentin Nozic, creative director and founder of I Love Ugly. On this episode, we decided to do things a little differently. I sit down with our digital director, Will Munro, who interviews me on this episode. He asked me about 10 monumental stories and events that had happened to the brand over the last 10 years. Some you may have heard of before, and some not. These are some of the most embarrassing, entertaining, uplifting, and challenging times over the last 10 years, both for I Love Ugly and for myself. Whether or not you are new to the brand, you'll find us entertaining and educating. There's a few questions where I go deep and honest, which you can pluck a few gems from to apply to your own business and your life. Also, we want to give our podcast audience a little gift to say thank you for all the support, especially this month for the 10-year collection. So use the code PODCAST, spelled as such, PODCAST, at the checkout to get 10% off your order, which also includes you to use that for the 10-year collection. And this is only valid for you guys, the listener. Enjoy the episode.
Story number one, the question everyone's been wondering. Why wasn't the 10-year anniversary last year?
Snap. I thought no one would notice. But the reason is just last year we weren't ready. To be honest, last year was a foundation year. It was rebuilding. We tried to overcomplicate it. We tried to do 10 collaborations across 20 days, and just a lot of the ideas and a lot of the companies which we were working for just couldn't meet the deadlines, and things were just too manic. And what we wanted to do is just simplify it and do it right and spend the time. So what we did is a lot of the garments which we released for the 10-year anniversary were re-releases. We actually had to find some of them, like a lot of the garments. As an example, the baseball Frankie shirt, I had to look for that, and I found it at an op shop on Ponsonby Road, coincidentally, on the front window.
True.
And, we had to redo that artwork. And it was just a whole bunch of things like that just slowed things down and took a while. And it's like, okay, we want to do this thing right. We want to do it justice. And rushing it was just going to water it down and make it not as impactful as...
Right.
I'd rather it be released in 2019, although it says 2018, and make it look a little bit weird, but do it right, rather than rushing it just to have it released in 2018. So that's the main reason.
So did you have any of the collabs lined up? Like, did you begin any of them, or you
kind
didn't get
of?
that far?
A lot of the collabs is just going to start coming out next year and beyond. What you forget, what people don't realize with collabs is they take 12, 18, sometimes 24 months plus. And in this instance, it's like, to get a whole bunch of different people all aligned in the exact same release month is hard. It's doable, but it's hard. So I think maybe for the 20-year anniversary, we'll start preparing it 3 years in advance to make sure that we've got all our ducks in a row.
Yeah. Cool. What's your favorite piece from the collection so far?
Favorite piece is the Later More Sosa jerseys. I just reckon it's dope. It's not a shirt, it's not a t-shirt, it's just OG. And then the significance behind it and the stories behind it and what it did for the brand and the time and the era which we released it, which was November 2013, which a lot of people classify as one of the best collections we'd done. It's just special, man. It's just dope. It was after going to LA, seeing people wearing baseball jerseys in like a kind of street casual context. I was like, that's cool, man. I want to reinterpret that into an I Love Ugly way. So Sosa jerseys at the time of this podcast. It'll already be out by the time we release it, but it's not out yet. So
True.
But it'll be cool.
Cool. Story number two, the infamous website hack. We recently released a video talking a bit more about that, but let's share that with the rest of the audience.
I had this obsession about getting attention and getting traffic, because traffic to the website equals attention, which equals sales. And we had all our KPIs and our goals up on the wall. What do we want to achieve, or how do we achieve 10 I think it was 20,000 people to visit the website. And for whatever reason, there's this like meme going around where people would text you on your phone saying, "Hey bro, I've got this car for sale at a mean price or whatever. Click here," and you get it, and you click it, and it's like this photo of this big black dude with his thing hanging out, and it's just hilarious to see the reactions and the shock of the people that you prank. And we were like, damn, that's pretty funny. Imagine if because there's this whole thing about website hacking and whatnot going on in the media at the time, and we're like, imagine if we pranked ourselves and hacked our own website, and what the attention would be and the traffic. So what we did is we designed it all up, and I got this image that was going around of that black dude naked with his thing, his dick hanging out, and I designed it all up, but it looked legit. It looked too well designed. So I was like, okay, how can we make this look real shit? And how can we make this look like real bootleg? So what we did is we got Barnaby, our ops guy at the time, to design it, he can't design if his life depended on it, and he designed the whole thing on Microsoft Word, and it was like, perfect, that's it. I Love Ugly can suck my dick. And then we were like, okay, how can we make it even more weird? So we got this picture. I can't remember. There was some milestone or whatever that LeBron James had hit. So we decided to put his face on the website, and then we basically put it on the website. And then next thing we did is we sent a message on our social platforms, please do not go on our website.
Yeah.
So what do people do when they hear that? They go on the website. Next minute, 50,000 people had gone on the website. It had gone viral. The media was calling me.
You did an article, and you posted photos talking about that being hacked, right?
Yeah, we did the whole shebang, and it caused attention, and the whole
got the result.
Yeah, absolutely. My whole 2015 was all about attention. How can we supercharge this thing? And it's all about eyeballs. It's all about people talking about you. It's all about being top of mind. So we hacked our own website. Looking back now, honestly, I don't know what I was thinking, but back then I was just young and dumb and just did whatever.
But the crazy thing is,
I had balls, hence the excuse the pun.
Not everyone knew about it at the time, right?
Absolutely
like there was
not.
only
because even a few staff members that honestly our retail staff didn't even know. It was a head office secret. Yeah, hacked our own website because not many people can get it, and at the time it's so bizarre that if too many people knew about it, it would get out, it would spread. So it's only one of those things which you could look back on 4 years later or so, and then tell the story. Because at the time it was diabolical, and that was like 2 months or so before the Ring campaign. But that's a different story.
Yeah. Well, on that note, story number 3. An event that was probably a lot more hectic than that and caused a lot more drama to you and your life, the Rings campaign.
Oh man, that was crazy. Yeah, once again, fixated with the attention. We were launching a brand new category, rings. Okay, this is something where a lot of our customer, they kind of wanted it, but at the same time, we wanted to kind of go beyond who just knew about I Love Ugly and wanted to reach new people. How do you do that? It's like cause a stir in the media. Because the thing is like back then, if Facebook and stuff was in its infancy, and back then if you could kind of do something that was a little bit provocative, a little bit out there,
we go ham.
You can get that virality because there was less people on the platform. Not many people knew how to hack the whole advertising spin and this and that, and also we were also very reliant on media, so like blogs like Heist and Biety and Hypebeast and Slamx Hype and whatnot, doing posting it, but we put it up and kind of thought nothing of it a little bit, but I'll tell you a story before that. Yeah, before I kind of get into before we released it, so we had the story. I ran it past my mom. She thought it was like, a little bit interesting. Ran it past my wife. She thought it was all good. Ran it past a few female staff members.
With the imagery, you showed them all the imagery.
I told them the concept. I showed them the Tom Ford campaign, which is just as fucking bad. And, if it works for them, then it should be okay for us. It should be. But anyway, did it. Showed it to a few female staff members. They were all cool with it. did the casting, so we'd have people come in. The thing I was so surprised about it is there were so many steps in the process before it went public.
Yeah.
Nobody said anything. Nobody was uncomfortable. The agencies which we booked it for,
They probably all had
were-
it in the back of their mind.
Yeah, maybe they did, but it didn't seem that way.
Yeah.
And then all the agencies were on board. We got all the castings. So there was 10 people that came, 10 women that came through. Yeah, took off their tops and this and that.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
then I had our marketing manager Hannah. She was there with me, so it wasn't weird. But while you're in it, you're just in professional mode.
Yeah,
And you're
absolutely.
like, okay, you're so focused on the end result and the campaign, you don't really care, or you don't have any perspective on the situation. And anyway, we did it. We shot the campaign. We launched it to our distribution channels, our of all the blogs, and then honestly, within an hour, poof, started to cotton on. You start seeing it on like friends of friends feeds and this and that. And then it was because it debuted on High Snobiety,
Yeah.
and then the title was "Not Suitable for Work." I Love Ugly releases a "Not Suitable for Work" campaign, which is like complete clickbait title,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
it just exploded, man. And then it was like,
Uh-oh.
fuck. Before I knew it, this thing was like in different countries: the US, the UK, Australia, GQ Woman, like the whole shebang. And it was at that point of no return. And then I think it's called the ASA or the ADSA, the Ad Administration Authority, who basically monitor and audit ads just to make sure that no one's doing anything stupid.
Yeah.
They got in contact with us, and that's
Jeez.
when I knew, okay, I gotta pull, because I was like, nah. After day 2 and 3, started getting like personal hate messages. My wife started getting attacked, and I was like, okay, shit, this is pretty bad. We better pull it. But the stupid thing, what we did is we tried to cover ourselves up by doing the exact opposite, getting a
Yeah.
naked guy with a lady, fully clothed lady, covering his private parts, which was like hilarious doing it at the time, like, photographing it. But that just basically poured fuel on the
Gasoline
fire.
on it.
All our customers and all our demographic, who are a lot more receptive and a little bit more immune to those types of things and images and whatnot, were all in support of it. But there was a lot of people, a lot of females that were not impressed. And it was around November, I believe, a month before. That's the
December,
busiest time of the year.
Christmas, Yeah.
A lot of our customers are mums and grandmas and aunties and girlfriends and wives, and it was a bit of a weird time. But we pulled it. We apologized. It was the most complained about advertising campaign in 2015 for that particular organization, the Ad Administrative Authority, or whatever it's called. And then after that, it was a bit of a kick in the guts, and then that was the first time when I was like, okay, I can't just be ruthless, stupid. I'm at a position now, the brand's at a position now where we actually have to
Can't
send
get
out
away with it, yeah.
a bit of a positive message, and also just be very cautious and careful about if we do something that's borderline risky or pushing the boundaries. We just need to, firstly, not ask our mothers and our sisters, but just make sure that we're being responsible.
Story number 4. The launch of your very first website. There was also a bit of commotion that happened then behind the scenes.
Oh, yeah. So that was, what was that, 2009, I believe? 2009, 2010. But we built our website from scratch on Magento. We got our boy Nikolai, this Russian guy, shout out Nikolai. He built it from scratch for like $100 a week. And we were one of the first e-com businesses in retail in New Zealand. And even like globally in our space, we were one of the first, which is crazy considering it was, 10 years, less than 10 years ago. And so we launched the website. It was a great success. And then like any fashion business, it's inevitable that you need to probably go on sale at some point, just because drips and drabs, odd sizes here and there. But anyway, we decided to go on sale. It was like midnight on a Thursday, and we went on sale, and we decided we needed to do a stock take just to amend all our stock levels, just to make sure it's not accurate, to avoid oversales. So what we did is we decided to do the stock take at 11:30 at night, half an hour before we go live. And at this point, we were somewhat small, small brand, not much of an audience. That's what we thought anyway. And we did the stock take. While we're doing a stock take, it was midnight, and the sale went live. It was stupid back then. We just did things. Sale went live. We oversold everything by, I'm talking like 20, 30K, $20,000 to $30,000 of just oversell. So pretty much we oversold everything we didn't have. And we were like, fuck, what are we going to do? At the same time, we needed the money, but then at the same time, we had this problem where people were ordering stuff we didn't have. So what we decided to do was just let the orders flow. And then since we were manufacturing in New Zealand at the time, we were like, okay, let's just take the orders, and we're going to call the customers tomorrow individually, every single customer, and tell them that there was, I can't remember, a fire or a flood or something. We didn't tell them the truth. We made up a silly lie, and it completely oversold. And then for the next 2 days, 3 days, there's 3 or 4 of us calling up every single customer saying, hey, such and such, man, so sorry. It's V here from ILU, like creative director or whatever. I love ugly. There's I think it was a flood. It was more legit. There's a flood in our in our warehouse. All the stock was destroyed, so we're gonna have to get it reproduced. Which that was the truth. But as a sign of our to apologize, we'll also throw in a few extra T-shirts. Every single person, and there was hundreds of customers. Yeah. Every single person was like on board and appreciated the call and loved it. So we called every single person. We got the goods made out in Silverdale in Auckland. I think we said it was going to be done in 4 weeks. It probably took about 12 weeks, but we got it all made. We delivered the goods. We got the T-shirts out, the complimentary T-shirts.
Kept the customers happy.
And all was good, man. And yeah, kept the customers happy. But man, that was, looking back, I think it was I don't know why we lied, but we had to think of a legitimate excuse that looked better than that we oversold.
Yeah, nobody wants to hear that.
Yeah, and also the cool thing was, just being raw, honest, and transparent, and then us calling them and telling them that we fucked up. People appreciated that, and that was a little story of the oversell on the website back in the day. But getting the dopamine hit from getting those orders, especially launching at midnight New Zealand time, that was dope, man. That was like, okay, we're onto something. This online thing's got legs, and that's when we started to invest into photography and a customer service agent, and a better inventory management system and things like that. That's when the penny really dropped. But that was that was crazy, man. Yeah, that was a cool experience.
That's hectic. Okay, story number 5. Not many people would know this, but I Love Ugly actually started as a magazine.
Yeah.
Called We Love Ugly, correct?
Yeah, correct.
Tell us about that.
Yeah, I had this kind of entrepreneurial streak and urge in me when I was at university. I hated university, but what I did like is the freedom and the time to kind of think and experiment. And at that time, I was like, man, I don't give a shit about grades or whatever. I knew I've kind of got some skills. I don't really give a shit. So long as I pass, I'm happy. I was like a straight C+, C- kind of student. But anyway,
get degrees.
Anyway, I had this dude, Sam, and he's an amazing drawer. And we're like, bro, why don't we just interview artists, which we find on MySpace, and create a little publication magazine. Yeah, MySpace. Because it was amazing. Like, that's what I was using it for discovering artists, for inspiration. And anyway, we found this little gap where not many people were doing it. At the time, it was like Juxtapose magazine and Wooden Toy and Monster Children, some cool magazines, but nothing kind of boutique. And I was just into like graphic layout and illustrations and paper stocks and this and that. I wasn't so concerned about the viability of the business. I just wanted to do something cool. And we're like, why don't we call it like We Love Ugly? What that means, fuck knows. It sounds kind of cool and intriguing. And we got a whole bunch of artists. We actually made the magazine, got it printed locally. Probably cost like $50, which means we had to sell the magazine for $100.
Sheesh.
And then after that, it's like, this is just ridiculous.
Did it go well?
Oh, it was just like, we produced it, and I don't think we sold any, man. We just gave them away. Who's gonna buy a $50 20-page magazine? Nobody. So we found that out, and then Sam quit because that was our first little roadblock. Yeah, it was too hard, and I was like, I kind of like this We Love Ugly thing, but
Yeah.
why don't I put it I Love Ugly? And I was like, that's pretty cool for a clothing brand, because a lot of his cool illustrations, I think, still had legs, and there's still something in that. And then I started to apply that into t-shirts, and then I Love Ugly was born from that little magazine. So it was pretty cool. And I was like, also, this is a far more viable business model where it doesn't.
Yeah.
I can do one print, because I was an illustrator at the time. I could do one print, and I could put it on 100 t-shirts, and I can get paid 100 times for it, rather than needing to do 100 individual pieces of artwork and get paid for it. And then I also, obviously had my daughter and whatnot, my girlfriend, and I had to be the man, the provider. So that's how I Love Ugly was born, and that's the story of the We Love Ugly magazine.
Cool.
Probably be worth a bit of money now. I'd probably be able to sell it.
Do you
for
think you could find
$100.
any of them?
Possibly, yeah. I might have it on a CD somewhere.
Oosh.
Yeah,
That'd be
pretty.
dope.
That'd be buzzy.
You should get that
I just
printed
don't know.
out.
Do you know anyone that's got a CD drive?
Nah. Not
I don't
really.
even know if Illustrator will be compatible, but yeah, I might dig that out, man.
That'd be dope. Cool. Now, story number 6. This is probably one of my favorites. It's going back to around 2015. The story of you guys making $1 million and then losing it all in a year. A crazy time, I'm sure.
Crazy time, bro. So that was the website hack year, the ring release year, our eyewear collection year, JanSport collaboration year, LA opening year, Melbourne opening, Sydney opening. Man, we were just going ham, bro. It was popping off.
Is this the beginning of the downfall?
Yeah, it was the beginning, bro. So we were going ham. We had sales coming in, money coming in. The analogy I always use, it's like we were given the keys to a Ferrari, and we just had learned how to drive, and we were going a million miles down the freeway so fast we couldn't read the dashboard to know if there was a corner approaching. We didn't know how to read a speed sign, so we're hitting corners, spinning out. Couldn't read the fuel gauges, this and that. And as a result of that, man, we were just spending money left, right, and center. My business partner moved to LA. I was traveling to LA 4 or 5 times a year. I was traveling all over, just spending money like it was going out of fashion for most crazy staff parties. We hired like mansions on Waiheke with 20 of us, including partners. We had jet skis over there. It was like 4-day staff benders. It was crazy. And it was also the year where our financial controller left to go pursue a full-time gig at another company. So it was literally like
out of control.
Yeah, it was out of control, man. So we rose, very, very quickly. Many opportunities presenting themselves, and and then when you combine growth with inexperience and no concept,
recipe for disaster
of money. You spend a lot of money. You make a lot of money. You can just spend that money because it's there to spend. And that's pretty much how we spent it, bro. We spent way too much money on LA setting it up without any proof of whether or not the model would work, despite having the traffic and the orders coming from Los Angeles. We didn't really focus on profitability. It's like I had this thing where profit can always be fixed later. We had, I think, 20 or so full-time staff at the time in the head office. Every time there's a problem, chuck a body at the problem. Every time we're busy, chuck a body at the problem. Every time we want to, get big and get the brand famous, it's like, okay, let's hire a PR agency based in New York, focusing on all the stuff that looked impressive, but it wasn't important.
Yeah.
And man, when you do that, eventually that's going to stack up, and that so-called castle that you're building is built on sand, man, and that thing's going to crumble quicker than you can imagine. And bro, it crumbled, man. And it wasn't until late 2016 where we had to put in a couple $100,000 each at the time.
Sheesh, that's gotta hurt.
Where it started to really be like, shit, this thing is a problem, man. big problem. So all the years that we'd spent building it up and spending our money was coming to an end. And
That's gnarly, man.
I think LA and the store openings were just the catalyst. That was when it just all went south. Yeah, and it was fun, man. Like, it was fun. But something in me knew subconsciously in my gut.
Yeah. But you're having so much fun.
So much fun. But then I was like, bro, like, this is almost too good to be true.
Yeah.
And since I started this business, I had challenges and stuff. But since we hit a sweet spot, the blue ocean they call it, where you hit a gap in the market where no one is, and you just escalate.
Were people talking to you and telling you, like, from externally, being like, they can see what's happening?
Bro, we had external accountants which were paying, $3,000 a month as an advisor, cheering us. Go guys, go guys. We had our banker lending us money. Like, they gave us hundreds of thousands of dollars unsecured line of credit, with no covenants about what we could and couldn't spend on it. So we had everybody praising us, because it was an anomaly. We went from naught to just under $10 million in 5 years. Like, it's it was a freak show. And it's human tendency when you're in the moment and something's going good, you think, or something's going bad, you think it's going to last forever. In our case, everything was going good. We had the Midas touch. Everything we touched turned to gold. There's no way, and when you got no experience and no perspective on about things going wrong, there's no way we would have thought about things could go wrong until things started to go wrong. And that's when that was my first true test of a businessman, really. And bro, it was crazy.
Yeah, it sounds absolutely mental. Story number 7. The iconic product of I Love Ugly, the one that everyone knows, the Zespi.
The Zespi, yeah.
How did it start? Where did the idea even come from?
Yeah, well, pretty much since I was like 16, because my body shape's not like a model, I'm not a 6 foot.
Most people's aren't.
Exactly, not a 6 foot skinny kind of, skinny legs, chicken legs kind of dude. And I was like, man, I was always obsessed with pants. Like, I always liked pants, like a dope cut of pants. And I'd always like hand stitch my denim, which I'd get from wherever, or I'd even buy or wear my wife's denim, because it was like, it had the zips around the ankles, so you could get super tapered, so you could take it off comfortably, and you could put it on comfortably, because you just zip it back up. And I was like, that's pretty dope. That's a cool idea, the zips. And then so I was obsessed with pants, and I went to Amsterdam for my honeymoon, and whenever it was, when was that? 2009, 10. Anyway, went to Amsterdam, and when in Amsterdam, you get amongst the culture. So I was in the coffee shops. I was smoking weed and trying all the different. So I was like pretty much high, biking around, getting inspired for 3 weeks, eating food, and it was amazing, man. And when you're in that state and you don't think about anything and you're constantly looking for inspiration, your world opens up and you start seeing things which you didn't notice. And I had this idea in my head about a pair of pants, like combination of almost chinos, but like kind of like non-denim, like chinos, just in a beige kind of cotton with that whole zip feature, which I got which my wife's jeans had. And I was like, man, that would be pretty dope. And I remember I saw the steeziest dude on a bike, and this like African American dude, and he had these chinos and this just dope jacket and this Norse Projects hat and stuff. And I was like, fuck, man, that's just when the idea just came to me. And I was like, the word Zespi came to my mind. Didn't have any meaning, didn't know what it meant, but it's just like the Zespi pant. So I came back to New Zealand after that trip. It was a little bit of a haze for the first few months, and then I got a pattern maker, this girl Bridget, and I was like, hey, this is what I envision, and she did about 10 or 15 or somewhat different samples. They were too long, this and that, but eventually we got them perfect, man. They were like bunched. They were in a chino fabric, like little slight sheen. We did them in like coffee colors and beige and black, and we had the zip on the ankles, and they were dope, man. Got them made in New Zealand. the original RRP was $250 in New Zealand.
Damn.
And despite that, they went
Ham.
hard, they went ham. And then at that point, after we sold hundreds of units, it's like, man, we need to take these offshore for better quality and slightly improve them, and also improve the price. And then we shifted them to China. We found an amazing factory who we still work with today. Oh, actually, no, we don't. Sorry. Yeah, amazing factory and got them produced, and we created a brand around the Zesby.
Yeah.
And then we did the comical video clips with Tom Scott from Homebrew, and we had my boy Mo, where everybody loved the pants, but nobody could walk in them. So it's like, fuck, let's make this mess our message. And we ended up making these comedic videos of Mo trying to walk upstairs in Zespy's, and it almost created a movement, and everybody could relate to it.
Yeah.
Everybody loved the pants.
Everyone was wearing
Yeah,
them.
and then it came to the point where the word Zespy was almost like that style of pants. So you know how
Yeah.
you've got like the chino,
The chino,
or
the Zesby,
like
yeah.
people thought Zespy. So you started having brands saying
Creating their own Zespis.
their own Zespy, calling it the Zespy, and that's how iconic it became. And even to this day, it's still one of our top 3 sellers. Obviously, we've done slight iterations of it. A lot of our customers has grown up, focused on functionality, so people can actually walk and ride a bike in it. But man, it was pretty cool. So that's how it came about, man. And,
I love that story.
So it all came pretty much popped in their head. The word Zespy, seeing this dude, came back, 10 to 15 different samples, and the rest is history.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So this next story number 8, it's also one of my absolute favorites that you've told me personally. And it's kind of you talking around the pinnacle moment when, after 2015 and everything started, falling apart and everything.
Yeah.
But the moment that it all started falling apart and at its absolute worst, you did something that I admire so much. You doubled down on yourself, your own personal development.
Yeah.
And I find it truly inspiring. But can you tell me about like that, in that moment, what you did over that, like in the moment when it hit kind of the breaking point, and then what you did over the next couple of weeks?
Yeah. Well, pretty much in 2015, despite having this amazing success, I always felt anxiety, and I felt it was uncontrollable, and I didn't feel like I was present or enjoying it. 2016, when shit really started to hit the fan, that's when we started getting the calls from the bank, breaking covenants. We had liquidators knocking on the door. We had creditors threatening to take us to debt and this and that. And then it all started to go really pear-shaped. And when we got the letter from the bank, which I've told the story before, where we had to pay back for $500,000 in 7 days. And then at that point, I'd already started to delve into this world of personal development, because I knew that going from where we were now and sustaining it wasn't about like silly marketing like ring campaigns and this and that. It was about sustainability, and also the stability of my own mental wellness and my psychology. And I'd kind of delved into this, and I got into the Tim Ferriss 4-hour work week. That's when I was like real at my depressed stage. Yeah. And then I also picked up the Tony Robbins Awaken the Giant Within. There's one page in there.
Great book.
Yeah, great book, man. I can't remember. And at that point, bro, I thought Tony Robbins was just this like cheese bag,
Yeah.
Well, he was, he was on infomercials, and it was whack, and it just all looked like fake advertising. But I picked it up, man. I was like, damn, this is fucking good shit, man.
Yeah.
Something in my brain just clicked.
Yeah.
And then just to reverse it back, so prior to the 2017 moment where it really hit the fan, I'd already been doing about six or 12 months of personal development, kind of getting into it. 2017 was like, man, this is the moment. This is where 99.9% of people run for the hills. Yeah. They either commit suicide, they turn into full-blown alcoholics or drug addicts, or they basically just call it in. They file for bankruptcy. Yeah. And I got to that point, man. I was like, but for some reason, I was like, man, I'm doubling down on my health. I'm doubling down on my psychology. I'm broke as shit. I had like, I remember one time I saw a homeless dude, and I was like, that dude is probably $1 million richer than me right now. Because I was over $1 million in the hole with bank debt, personal debt, remortgaging my house, all the debt which I had incurred from the business, which I was now personally responsible for because I brought out my business partner. And man, 2017, bro, I remember when I signed the papers, when I signed to a new bank, because prior to that I got rejected from 6 banks. Everyone, literally bank managers laughing at me like, fucking good luck. Do yourself and your family a favor and just cut it, man. And I was like, man, like I don't know why, but something was pulling me. And I'd been reading autobiographies and this and that. And every single person that had written those books had at one point in their career or in their life hit this.
Yeah.
Something was like, oh, V, this is your moment, bro. This is where you either basically sink or swim. And for me, I was like, fuck, I'm gonna double down. I signed the papers for the new bank. I brought out my business partner. And I remember driving home, pulling over, and thought I was dying. I thought, honest to God, I was having an anxiety attack, or maybe it was a heart attack. Fuck knows. But bro, I was dying. I was like, what have I done? I was freaking out, man, because it's almost unnatural for a person to do that, to take on that debt and to turn things around.
To take it on head on as well.
Just take it head on, man. And staff were leaving me, quitting me, stealing from me. People that I thought all my friends were turning on me. There's people now that I was friends with at the time in 2016. Fuck, I didn't even hear from them anymore. I probably will because we're turning around now. But anyway, it was interesting, bro. And then, so anyway, broke as 2017, toughest year of my life, turning things around, which everyone deemed impossible. And I was like, man, this is a game of psychology. This is another level. This is almost spiritual now.
Yeah.
Like there's the mechanics and there's certain people that I need to get rid of and certain people that I need to hire. But it's all me. I was the chokehold of the business. And all of a sudden I was like, I'm to blame. I was the reason why this thing turned to shit. And I'm going to be the reason
why it turns around.
So I spent, me and my wife were like, man, let's go to Tony Robbins. At this point I was like,
it's not cheap.
Not cheap, man. I was like, let's go to Tony Robbins, but we got no money. Like we're already minus $1 million and more, probably 1.5 legit. And it's like, okay, so I registered with American Express for a credit card. I got a $6,000 credit card, and then I got a loan from Harmony, like a second tier lender, like 16% interest. And it's like, man, fuck it, I need to do this. Like, this is ridiculous. This makes no logical sense, but I need to do this. I need to basically learn how to break fear, because fear was basically intoxicating me. I was sinking in fear. And I knew that this was the main thing. This is where that whole psychology kicked in. So I went to Tony Robbins, me and Ali. We did the 4-day Unleash Your Power within. Fucking broke, borrowed the money. Went to Tony Robbins, and I came back, man. I was pumped, bro. I was just like, okay, I can do this. I learned tools. I learned NLP, neuro-linguistic programming, about how I can, if I'm feeling off track, how I can click myself back into getting on track. I learned that adversity is basically perspective. Your viewpoint on life and the situation is all perspective, and you can choose whether or not it's a positive or it's a negative. So I started to redefine. And I also knew that there was an environment, my environment was critical, and there was people in me and like people that I was around and with that I needed to eliminate while I was going through this season. So I did that, and it blew me away. And then I was like, okay, there is some stuff that I also need to learn. I need to learn about finance and financials. So I went to Tony Robbins, did that. I spent $6,000, a little bit more, $10,000 on that. Came back, spent another $10,000 to go back to Sydney. So I did Tony Robbins. I was 50 hours in 5 days. So 10-hour days in a row. This is while, the business was still pretty fucked. Came back to New Zealand. I was like, I need to polish up my financial skills. I did a business mastery course in Sydney. Went back, spent another $10,000. Did that. So more debt. Just blew me away. And since I was so in debt with it, my eagerness to absorb this information was just tenfold. I was the hungriest dude in the room. And so learned financials, did the crash course, another 50-hour course. And then I came back, and then I signed up for the $25,000 course, me and my wife, about redefining and just weeding out all the issues which I had from when I was a child, or which I'd inherited from my parents or relatives, about the way I define certain things. Because I also knew that, as great as my parents were, there were some bad things that I'd inherited that I needed to get rid of. And there's that saying that habits are too small to be noticed until they're too large or too heavy to be unbroken. And I had a lot of bad habits which I need to undo. So, and then also, while all this shit was going on, my relationship was slipping away, so I had to work on that. This is how intense it was, man. And then, so I spent tens of thousands of dollars of education. I spent hundreds of hours of my time working on me. I doubled down on my health. I did this incantations like, you can do this and that. I did the breathing. I did the whole lot. And even to this day, I still do things. And bro, I pulled through, man. Like I started going to church. I started like just completely changing who I am, because I knew that I Love Ugly wasn't going to change unless I changed as a person. And that's also something which I highly recommend to everybody else. If things aren't going well for your business, don't necessarily look at the business, look at yourself and for the skills that you lack, or the people that are around you, or the mindset which you have, and be fucking critical, because the more critical you are, the better result and the better chance you are going to have to turn around. So that was my little story of the turnaround and spending tens of thousands
Honestly,
of dollars.
it's a mind-blowing story.
Yeah, well, looking back, man, like I had balls. But the crazy thing is when you're in these moments, that whole sink or swim moments, it reveals your true character.
Yeah.
And I think that at the same time, like, you're so thick in it, and as Winston Churchill says, when you're in the thick of it and you're going through hell, keep going. And I was like, man, I'm not going to quit. I decided I'm never, ever, ever going to quit. And that was what I decided, and it just meant that I had to do that. I had to do these things. I had to experience this pain, but they're kind of, they're 100% necessary. And it's often you see these people, these people that have survived cancer and go on to win these ultra marathons, or, where everybody said it's like everything that you put your mind to, anything that you put your mind to, you can make something possible. So I think I achieved. It's obviously not over, but man, it's
super inspiring.
Yeah.
Even just hearing that is so mental.
Cheers, man. Well, it's kind of what helped me attract people like yourself,
Mindset, bro. It's absolutely imperative.
Definitely, man.
And can't recommend personal
development. And that's
development
why, it's such an important subject matter and an important philosophy now, which we carry through into I Love Ugly. And I think a lot of people can resonate with my story in some shape or form with their own lives. And it's almost an obligation that now that we have to teach and help people to overcome that. And our product is just a representation of that. So when you wear the product, hopefully it does empower people to become better versions of themselves.
I think that story is going to really inspire a lot of people hearing that. And then when they kind of introspectively look at their own problems, personal development mindset, it's perspective. It's the key to overcoming anything.
Absolutely, man. That's what they say, right? It's 80% psychology, 20% mechanics, 20% doing the work. Obviously, you got to work hard, but working hard by having a shit psychology, shit's going to be tough, man.
Story number 9, the South Korea license deal. Sounds pretty big.
Yeah.
How did that even come about?
We had we got an email from this Korean parent group. Thought it was BS, ignored it, and then they hit us up again about a month later, basically saying that they wanted to license I Love Ugly in South Korea. And we were like, okay, cool, we'll take the call. Took the call. Next minute, the guy's like, hey, I want to come over and chat in person. So he flew over a week later. So we're like, okay, this is crazy. This is pretty serious. And then he came over. We had dinner. We discussed it. And basically, they had this vision to bring completely reestablish I Love Ugly for South Korea. And that's when at the point where we were saying yes to every opportunity. And the old saying, the man that chases 2 rabbits catches none. We were basically chasing every rabbit that we saw, and we were thinking we're going to miss opportunities, but all we were doing was stretching ourselves thin. So we had this guy, he came over, and it was serious, man. They basically want to invest like a lot, like millions and millions of dollars, set up a whole infrastructure of I Love Ugly in South Korea and Seoul.
What year was this?
This was 2000, the golden year,
Yeah.
quote unquote, 2015. And so he came over. Might have been 2016, the beginning actually. He came over, and then they basically had a I Love Ugly building in Seoul, which I'd already nearly purchased. There's going to be an I Love Ugly store underneath, and they're going to roll out 3 stores within Seoul of I Love Ugly. And then they wanted me to come over and set up this design team to teach the ethos and this and that. And then and they placed an order, and it was February 2016. They placed the order. It was like $50K order, US, no deposit. And then we got the call that they'd been acquired by a big conglomerate, and basically all new acquisitions were basically on hold.
Ice.
And we ended up losing. They didn't pay because they didn't pay a deposit. We ended up losing all that on that stock, and that was the start of the big stock issues which we'd had and whatnot.
True.
But so it was.
So did you have to still produce the stock, or did you send it?
we had the stock.
True.
Yeah, so we had to absorb it and dump it in our own market, put it on sale, sample sales, like outlet stores. Yeah, because you all of a sudden got an influx of 50K US of product in the market. You can't hold into that. You got to pay for it. And I think that was a big lesson as well. Like, you know, as legitimate as it was, and it was happening, man, just cover your ass, you know, for the downsides. And the thing is if we'd received a deposit and we'd got that stock, we could have handled it. But it was all the other palaver.
Yeah.
And we just weren't ready for it. I don't think we were ready for it. Like going over and setting up IL.
What do you
Korea.
think would have happened if they didn't get acquired and it went ahead? What do you think
It would have happened.
Yeah, but what do
100%.
you think would have happened to I Love Ugly
It's hard to say.
other than just becoming massive?
It's hard to say. We would have got massive.
Yeah.
I think probably, who knows, they probably could have acquired the whole company.
Yeah, true.
You know, there was a point in time when we were going through a shit, we were in talks with Hypebeast, and Hypebeast was going to acquire I Love Ugly, or 50% of it. I was talking to Kevin Ma, the CEO and founder of Hypebeast. This is right after they floated on the Hong Kong
IPO.
IPO, and then they got it was the biggest IPO of 2016, I believe. Like, you know, we probably, because there was a lot of demand and a lot of interest for I Love Ugly.
Yeah, were you
within
getting
Asia.
lots of people like looking at buying in or buying the whole thing?
Buying in and offers or partnering or collaborating, distributors, collaborations, just heaps of stuff, you know. When you're a flavor of a month,
Everybody wants a piece.
things are easy.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, you know, and the thing is, it's like, it's not how good you are when it's easy, it's how good you are when it's tough.
Yeah.
You know, and I think, and it's, so there's a lot of opportunities and all this and that, and it's a bit of a strange
What could
one.
have been, eh?
There's a
What
bit
could
of
have
a
happened?
blip, but that definitely contributed to the tough year that we
Yeah.
had, just that excess of stock. You know, we're sitting on so much stock. Our stock, you know, we had enough stock to last us probably a year and a half, whereas our business model is short, sharp, and quick turnarounds every
Yeah.
month. So when if you buy nothing for a year and a half, and you got that sitting in your warehouse, man, you got big problems awaiting you.
Now, story number 10 isn't really a story, it's more of a question. And it's just tell everybody, what is your favorite moment in I Love Ugly history? If you can pinpoint one.
Yeah. To be honest, where we are right now today is my favorite.
True.
And
Why is that?
the reason I say that is because we're in control. You know, we're creating a sustainable business, a sustainable brand. We've hit the 10-year mark, 11-year mark, actually. We hit 10 years last year. And the odds of that, you know, people hitting that is very minimal, let alone profitable. You know, and we've got to that point, and we're
In clothing.
in clothing, and we're, you know, we come, like you can testify, we come to work and everybody's energized, everybody's amped, we're clear, and we've got something that's sustainable, you know, and then, you know, the interest is coming back. People are saying that, I always ask myself, if I Love Ugly was gone tomorrow, how would people miss it?
Yeah.
And I'm constantly reminding myself that. And, you know, we want to build we want to build a legacy, and we want to build a brand where if it was gone tomorrow, people would miss the crap out of it. And I think right now we're in an awesome time where things are hard, are still hard, they're only getting harder because the gateways to starting a business or starting a brand are easier than ever. So the competition's more, people's expectations are higher, but for some reason we're just being ourselves. We're being authentic. We're saying no to most opportunities because we know that we want to create something that's sustainable and there's no rush. I think last time I just had this I had this thing with time, like I need to do it now, like rush, say yes.
It's hard to say no.
It's hard to say no because when you've got an opportunity there, it's human tendency just to say, like, there's not going to be any more opportunities. I'll take it. But it's a sign of maturity, and also it's a testament of the clarity and the goals which you have of a business to be able to say no even to good opportunities. Like we had recently, someone wanting to open a couple of IRU stores in Sweden, and we had, distributors wanting to have us
we're getting contacted about that a lot.
Yeah, notable distributors, like reputable distributors that carry some reputable brands wanting to carry us. No, we're not going to do it because it's not aligned with who we are and where we are as a business. We're a direct-to-consumer brand, and I think right now it's like me personally, and for what I've gone through and what I've seen both sides of a coin. I've seen the high times and I've been through the great times, the shit times, the unsure times, and right now we're just in a very clear time season, and we've got an amazing team, we've got an amazing audience that's like supportive about what we do, and we're sharing our story as we go along. And when you share, it kind of crystallizes everything you're doing and makes you realize that, man, we're blessed. This is an absolute blessing. And despite all the work that we had to do and put into to turn things around, we still had grace on our side. We still had a little bit of luck, and I'm not going to deny that. So right now, just looking back at it, looking on it holistically, it's like, bro, today, where we at now, celebrating his 10-year anniversary, this is the best time, my favorite time so far, and I'm pumped coming to work. Like coming to work used to be a drag, even in the good times, because it was stressful. I was ridden with anxiety. It was tough. The direction, like we had a million things to do. It was expensive. We weren't as profitable as we should have been. Like, it was risky. We're constantly having bad meetings, whereas none of that, we don't have any of that today. It's all future thinking, forward thinking. It's all positive. It's all high energy. It's all, everyone's got gratitude. We've got an amazing set of people. Like, it's completely different.
Awesome. Yeah. There it is, 10 stories, 10 years, I Love Ugly. It's a wrap.
We'll do this another 10, man. Thank you everybody for listening. If you enjoyed this episode and found any type of value, please subscribe to our podcast, share with your friends, and give us a 5-star review on iTunes to be in the draw to win a $200 I Love Ugly gift voucher. We will be drawing a winner monthly. Good luck, and see you on the next episode.